I started wrestling at 11.
He's making his debut in the octagon, Randy Couture.
I walked on that mat to try and get a dad's attention, and it didn't work, but I still found the place. I flourished. Some of my best friends were those guys that were on that mat with me.
Yeah.
There's something about sweating and bleeding together that builds a camaraderie that you're just not going to find anywhere else.
Randy Couture.
I set the goal. I was like, okay, that's where I want to be, right there. Ended up getting there. Ended up winning the state championship my senior year in 1981. Then qualified for the 88 Olympic team as a soldier.
Randy the Natural Couture.
I think it's more than just what you do in the cage. If you want to be considered the greatest of all time, you find that thing you're passionate about. Don't let go of that.
How did you get put on the radar?
I get this call from the UFC. My mom was looking at me like, you're going to do what?
Here we go.
Immediately, it changed my life.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Friends podcast. Today, I am making friends with the one, the only Randy Couture. If you did not know Randy from his illustrious career in the UFC, you probably have seen him in one of your favorite tough guy movies of all time. He's got to be in one of them. So, Randy, thanks so much for doing this, man. Welcome to the show.
You bet, Travis. Thank you.
So, I find your career super interesting, especially from the perspective that like you didn't start becoming this like public facing version of yourself in you know the UFC, and your career didn't start moving in that direction until like mid to late 30s, right? So there's a lot of life lived before that kind of public facing, you know, scrutiny.
Yeah.
So let's go back in time and kind of fill in some gaps here. Talk to me about 10-year-old Randy Couture. Where were you? And
I grew up in Linwood, Washington, about 45 miles north of Seattle.
Okay.
Went to grade school and junior high and high school up there in that area.
Pretty quiet?
Graduated from high school in 1981. Yeah, very quiet. You know, urban, you know, not rural, but not city either, kind of in the middle.
What did your parents do?
My mom worked at a grocery store. She was a meat wrapper most of my life. Dad wasn't really around.
Okay.
He was a welder, was in the Navy early, and then kind of went to Alaska to avoid support and basically kind of hide out. He worked on the pipeline.
Gotcha. Okay.
From one end to the other as a welder.
Yeah,
and
wasn't sending money back though.
Settled in Ketchikan as working on ships and you know, welding and doing all that up there. He passed away about, gosh, what's that been? 12 years ago now.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Did he ever kind of come back into the life at all?
We reconnected when I was in my 30s, around the time I started fighting. I took the job at Oregon State and was coaching at Oregon State when fighting came on the radar, and happened to coincide with him retiring from welding and moving back down to the lower 48.
Okay.
And so it was a bit strange to reconnect with him after,
sure.
I mean, I literally didn't talk to him for 10 years, a stretch there for 10 years. You know, got married very young at 18 years old, and he was kind of, his advice was, you don't need to do that. You shouldn't do that, you know? And I'm like, well, I'm doing it because I'm not going to be like you. Right. You know, we had a baby on the way. So, so there was about 10 years there that we didn't really talk. He didn't know my two older children. He hadn't really met them or been around them at all. So it was a bit strange.
Yeah, no kidding.
To kind of have this stranger in
it.
my house, you know, in my 30s, whom I hadn't talked to in 10 years, and to introduce my two kids to him, and hey, this is your grandpa.
Right, like what are you talking about?
Yeah, it was a bit strange, but we, you know, slowly kind of reconnected.
That's good.
I started bringing him to some of the fights. He loved the fighting, and I ended up getting remarried and had a third child with my second wife. Yeah, and they lived in Bend, Oregon, so I was going up to Bend all the time. This is around the time when I moved here in 2005. Yeah, and he would come down from southern Washington. Payel was where he lived, central Washington, basically, and hang out with my youngest. Anytime I would go to Oregon to see my kid, he would come down. He would drive down. And he kind of started doting on my youngest, which was, I think at some stage he recognized what he'd missed with his kids, that he was just doing his thing, trying to survive, I think. And so it was a bit strange even to watch that unfold, you know, Christmas gifts and birthday gifts
like,
for my youngest. I'm like, well, where were you when I was a kid?
Exactly. exactly.
And so it was a bit weird, but we connected, and I gained a lot better understanding of him and who he was, and maybe why he did and made some of the decisions he made.
Yeah.
There's a much bigger story there, but
no kidding.
We all have baggage. We all have issues that we drag around.
And becoming a parent is the fastest path to empathy for your own parents in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You start realizing, it's not that easy.
I get it now. Yeah, for sure.
Right, exactly. Oh, man. But so your mom then had the tremendous influence on you growing
My
up.
mom was the rock.
Yeah.
She was the one that was at every game,
Yeah.
Every match. I stepped on a wrestling mat to get his attention. That didn't work, but I found the place I seemed to flourish. Those coaches kind of filled that void that he left, and were the guys that kept me in line.
So young age, you
kicked
were
me in the butt. Yeah, I started wrestling at 11,
Okay.
7th grade.
already focused on that as a potential path, or was that just like
no,
high school?
it wasn't a path then. I think I walked on that mat to try and get a dad's attention, and it didn't work, but I still found the place I flourished. Some of my best friends were those guys that were on that mat with me.
Yeah.
There's something about sweating and bleeding together that builds a camaraderie that you're just not going to find anywhere else.
Yeah, you
That's
suffer
the
together,
truth.
you bond.
Yeah.
It's trauma bonding, basically.
Through embracing the suck,
chosen
basically.
trauma,
Wrestling practice is very, very tough. And so, we're all enduring that together, and that creates a connection that
was
is very rare.
Was wrestling correlated to your father in particular, or was it just, I want to do something competitive and wrestling's kind of the choice?
I had been playing soccer was my first sport.
Okay.
My mom, was a single parent with 3 of us kids. I was the oldest and only male. She kept us in every sport and every lesson you could name. Roller skating, tennis, sports camp every summer.
Yeah,
I mean,
which as you
she
look
just
back,
kept us active and busy.
Needing help.
Soccer was my first sport, and the one I still to this day is one of my favorites. It's one of the few sports I can actually watch on TV, and most other people are bored to death by it. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I think I, definitely was trying to get his attention walking on that mat. But I'd already been, my aspirations as a young kid were to be an Olympic skier.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my mom got me into skiing at 5. She was an avid skier. Her dad used to drive the ski bus. Yeah. So, her and her sisters used to go with him every weekend with all the other kids in their class and go skiing. And so that was one of her favorite sports.
Gotcha.
So she got all of us kids into ski lessons at a very young age, and so we didn't have that fear of falling or any of that stuff.
You still go ski?
I love to ski.
Yeah.
Avid skier. It was an expensive sport.
Yeah.
So as far as taking that seriously and making the Olympic team or a national team of some sort, a very expensive sport.
Right.
And I have a very, very good friend that was on the verge of doing that, making the national team. Donnie Totten was one of my best friends growing up from kindergarten on. And our senior year, he was on his way to making the national team as an Olympic skier.
No way. So
and he went off the course in White Pass and broke his back.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. He's my oldest, Ryan's godfather.
That's tough, man.
I was devastated.
That's terrible. Drove
to Eastern Washington to see him in the hospital after that accident happened. And Donnie was one of the most amazing guys I've ever met, honestly. He's still one of my best friends to this day. And how he took all that in stride, being paralyzed from the nipples down.
That's crazy.
At that point. I never saw him in it. I'm sure he had his moments, but I never saw him in a down moment. Started racing Odysseys, playing wheelchair basketball. I did the Boston Marathon in his wheelchair. I mean, this guy's an absolute friggin' stud.
Yeah, no kidding.
In his attitude in every way, under those circumstances,
it's really all
was
about
very
that
impressive.
Yeah, no kidding. Jeez, especially that going from being elite athletic level to to know what your body's capable of doing.
Yeah.
To go from that to immediately being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I don't know how it doesn't mess with you mentally. So props to him.
And he's just been a remarkable example of not letting anything
mental
stop
toughness.
you. And I mean, he's an avid bass fisherman, launches his own boat. I mean, this guy's remarkable guy.
I love it. Yeah. That's awesome. So you lost touch with the skiing thing along the way. And
I just had to
wrestling.
shift gears. I mean, it wasn't going to happen. I got more into freestyle skiing because I only needed one set of skis, and I didn't need a season's pass or any crazy. And I took all the lessons through the ski schools through our school district.
Okay.
And again, every weekend, I probably skied 20 or 30 times a year, every ski season. during grade school, junior high, and high school.
Okay.
The wrestling coaches hated it. You're going to get hurt.
No kidding.
Like, no, I'm not.
they could have easily been correct. But like, what are you going to do? Not enjoy anything? You know what I mean?
You got to live.
You got to do the things you love doing.
Yeah.
Right? So at what did you expect that it was going to be able to take you through college at that point? Like, was this on your radar? Or were you thinking like, okay, I'm going to go be a teacher or a coach or something after this? Let me just get to
that
school
early.
And get a degree.
Rolling into my junior year in high school, I was a district champion coming out of 9th grade. It was a 3-year school program. So it was 3 years in junior high, 3 years in high school. By the time I was a 9th grader and at the top of the heap in junior high, I won the district meet, which was as high as you could go, and then started all over again as a sophomore in high school and get my butt whooped again and trying to make the team and be varsity and all that stuff. And so was knocking on the door my junior year to being a varsity guy on the team, but wrestling 2 weight classes up, we had a very solid lineup and a tough guys at my weight. So I ended up wrestling 178. I only weighed 150. 155. I literally had to drink water to be within the 20 pounds.
Gosh. Yeah, no kidding.
And ended up qualifying for state, but didn't get to go. I was an alternate for the state tournament that year. But I set the goal. I was like, okay, that's where I want to be, right there.
Yeah.
And my mom, say I was working a job to account for my insurance and gas money for my car. And
what job was that?
I worked at a grocery store, same grocery store my mom worked at. I was a box boy at Farmer's Market. Yeah. That's where she was a meat wrapper.
Okay.
And so going into my senior year, I sat down with my mom. I was like, look, Mom, I want to be a state champ this year in wrestling. And that means I need to take some time off the store. I need to start weightlifting. I need to do some extra running. I had a plan, basically. Yeah. And I laid out this plan with my mom to say, hey, look, I can't afford to be at the grocery store 4 days a week and still do all the things I need to do to accomplish this goal. And she got behind me and she said, I will pay your car insurance and your gas money during wrestling season.
Savage.
Go do your thing. And
Mom was definitely the rock.
Yeah, I got the Arnold Schwarzenegger book of weightlifting. My mom helped me buy that Sears Roebuck plastic weight set. I mean, I was on a mission. Ended up getting there. Ended up winning the state championship my senior year, 1981.
Okay.
So that was the cookie cutter, right? Now I've accomplished this thing that I set out to do, that I laid this plan for, drew the map on how I thought I would get there, and then I got there.
Right.
And so that was, now I could replicate this.
It's an unlock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Once you do it the first time, you realize that, like, that seemed out of touch a couple of years ago. What are some other things that I think are out of touch right now that maybe
that was
aren't
my
out of
first
touch?
kind of, wow, all right, that's how that works.
So did you get scholarship offers coming in
No,
at this point?
got no love.
Okay.
I literally really only wrestled the scholastic season. I didn't go to the junior nationals or any of the Greco or freestyle stuff that a lot of the other kids at the highest level were doing to get recognized by these college coaches. So I literally walked on at Washington State. They still had a wrestling program then. Got no real scholarship offers. I got a couple junior college offers here and there, but no real Division I or real scholarship offers.
So what were you going to school for?
I wasn't even sure of that.
Okay.
I thought I wanted to be a zoologist. I was into fish and game, wildlife, zoology, avid hunter and outdoorsman as a kid growing up.
Okay.
Hunting with Ed, my dad. I mean, he would come take me out of school for a week. That was the only time I really got to bond, was going out in the woods and chasing deer or elk. So to this day, I still love to be out in the mountains and out in the woods because of that. So that's, coming out of high school, what I thought I would like to do.
Yeah. And then wrestling, you just enjoyed doing it, so you were like, I may as well walk on while I'm here.
I walked on at Washington State, came home. I had a wrestle off with the senior who was the varsity guy. He beat me. I didn't make the team for the travel squad over Thanksgiving, so I came home.
As a freshman?
Yeah.
You wrestled
I came home on the bus from Pullman, Washington to Linwood.
Yeah.
Right? And went on a date with my old girlfriend. I dated the same gal my whole senior year, Sharon. And she calls me 3 weeks later, hey, I'm pregnant. So immediately go on autopilot. It was a
successful date.
Got a baby on the way. She's like, look, I'm having this kid with you or without you. What are we going to do? And I said, well, let's get married. So this was literally November, December after Thanksgiving. And we were married that February.
Wow.
And Ryan was my oldest was on the way.
So
he was due that next August. So how am I going to support a family?
That's my question.
I went to the took the ASVAB at a recruiting office and qualified for whatever I wanted. Basically, I was smart enough, I did well enough on the test. They're like, hey, we'll give you $5,000 if you enlist as an air traffic controller.
Yeah.
And I'm like, $5,000?
Right.
Holy crap. I'm in. Let's do this.
Yeah, I'm rich.
So I signed up.
Okay.
And didn't go back to Washington State. So my matriculation stopped.
Yep.
Joined the Army that March and then was on delayed entry and left for basic training that next August.
Man.
Ryan was born that August. And then we were on our way. I went to basic training at Fort Bliss, advanced training for air traffic control at Fort Rucker.
Okay.
First duty station was Hanau, West Germany. And
So
delayed
different
in
than Washington State.
So then it took a while for them to send, I had to find an apartment over there before they cut orders and send my wife and my son over.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I was over there by myself for a while, a few months, looking for an apartment, which wasn't easy. I didn't want to live on the base.
Okay.
And there was a huge waiting list to even find housing on the base anyway. And I was like, no, I'm here in Germany. I want to experience some culture.
Sure, yeah.
And so I lived out on the economy in Germany for the 3 years I
Nice.
was there.
How'd
And
you
I
like
loved
that?
it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Started learning to speak German and wrestled for a German club team back then.
Oh, nice.
And that was, I thought wrestling was done for me when I got married.
Yeah,
And that dream was gone. Little did I know, there were 5 million soldiers at the peak of the Cold War stationed in Central Europe. Combative sports, certainly boxing and wrestling, were huge for the military because of their combative nature. So I ended up back on a wrestling mat in Germany.
Crazy.
Won a couple U.S. Army Europe championships and qualified me to try out for the all-Army wrestling team, basically to compete against the other services for bragging rights.
Yeah.
What I didn't know was that was also the Olympic qualifier.
Oh, really?
The inter-service championship.
Oh,
and I won a
interesting. So
couple
that became the
inter-service
path.
medals over the next 4 years of my enlistment and qualified for the 88 Olympic team as a soldier.
Wow.
So here I am back on an Olympic mat. I thought I was going to be skiing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm on a wrestling mat with cauliflower ears. That's where I got my first cauliflower ear. Was in the Army.
Based out of Germany.
Yeah. Wild.
Oh man. So
Did everything backwards, but it seemed to work
right.
out.
Well, you can only connect the dots looking back, right?
Yeah.
So when you're coming out of the service, then did you have any idea what you're going to do next? Like,
Well, obviously
you ended up
making
coaching.
that 88 team, I was an alternate on that 88 team. I wasn't the first guy, I was the second guy on that team, but they called me an Olympic alternate. So I was an alternate on the Olympic team, beat a bunch of guys to get to that spot
Sure.
in the national level. And so now all these college coaches are like, who the hell is that kid?
Like, how do
Where
we
did
miss
he
that?
come
Yeah,
from?
right.
And so the phone started ringing.
Interesting.
They figured out because I joined the service when I did, my matriculation stopped. I had 4 years of eligibility. And so now, here's a guy that just qualified for the Olympics, pretty high level.
Yeah, right.
We need him. So, I ended up fielding some calls from some college coaches,
Yeah.
Southern Illinois, Clemson, Bakersfield, and Oklahoma State, one of the best programs in our country in wrestling.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Head coach, I'm sure he would have loved to keep me in the Army and wrestling for him, but he was very encouraging. He said, look, you're crazy if you don't take that scholarship and go get your degree for your family at Oklahoma State. It's one of the best schools in the country.
Yeah.
So I left
But even then, the
Fort
purpose,
Campbell
the
and-
intention was to get a degree.
to get a degree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only thing I knew I wanted to study was German because I was stationed there.
So that's what you took?
I rolled in there and said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this degree, but I'm going to study German, foreign language and literature.
All right.
And I wasn't sure if I was going to be a teacher or get into international business, but those were the two kind of options with that degree. And I started leaning towards getting my teaching credential. I took French because of my last name in high school, 3 years of French. And, so I thought, Miss Kozlowski was really cool. Maybe I'll be a German teacher and coach wrestling, and so that's where I was headed.
Yeah. So, and you're now late 20s at this point?
I started at Okie State at 25, so I was a 25-year-old freshman.
Yeah.
Spent 6 years in the Army.
Okay.
Signed up for 4 and then extended for 2 more to get to that 88 trials.
Yeah.
It didn't make much sense to get out and try and chase that dream without the support of those workout partners and my coach and all those guys that I'd already immersed myself in, basically.
Yeah, that's the coolest part about these like unconventional paths is that you just never know what's coming around the corner. You know, you just keep putting yourself in a position to win. You do the preparation. Eventually, some opportunity pops up, and you're primed to take advantage of it.
Doors are always going to open. Whether you walk through that door or not is really up to you. And those are sometimes very scary decisions. That was a scary decision for me. By that time, I had 2 kids, and I'm deciding to accept a scholarship and go to college. I haven't been in school for over 6 years. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Let alone be on a college wrestling team
that would be
as a
weird going back to
25-year-old
school,
freshman. Talk about a butt pucker. Holy cow.
Like wrestling sounds fun, or like getting back into sports sounds fun, but like that also means I got to go to classes and like, turn in assignments. Like I'm back in school. It would be so weird to try to go back into school mentality after being done with it for so long.
And I did that at Washington State at 18 and wasn't very good at it.
Didn't like it.
My focus wasn't there. Whole different animal at 25. I knew exactly what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be, and so I ended up, on the dean's list for 4 years straight, and All-American there. 3 of my 4 years in the finals twice. Amazing team, national champions twice, second twice while I was there for those 4 years. So it was an amazing experience. I think the Army gave me the confidence that I could compete on the international stage. And I think at Oklahoma State, I developed the confidence that I could not just compete, but win at that level. So it was just, leveling up, progressively leveling up. And,
so then what was the transition to becoming the wrestling coach?
Out of, 2-time finalist at 190 pounds, still competing at the national level on the national team in Greco. And so the new head coach at Oregon State was looking for an assistant coach that was still competing. It was going to work out with those athletes that we recruited for the team. And I fit that bill. That was what he had in his mind, is who he wanted as an assistant coach. So he brought me in that summer after my senior year.
Great.
And,
so no
interviewed
gaps.
And rolled right into Oklahoma State.
Nice.
Oregon State.
Traded
Traded in my pistols for buck teeth.
The Beavers.
Yeah, the Beavers.
It's in Cornwallis or something like that. It's Corvallis.
Corvallis, Oregon. Corn Valley is what we call it.
That's right. Okay.
Corvallis.
A lot of my wife's family's up in Oregon. So
are they?
My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law and her husband, they live up near Bend.
Okay. My youngest lives in Bend now.
But they were
actually, he's a senior at Oregon State now.
Okay.
But him and his mom, after we got divorced, they settled in Bend.
Oh, it's a beautiful area.
Really pretty.
Can't blame anybody.
Really pretty.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're full-time wrestling coach. And then this little thing starts up, the UFC, where people are starting to take fights. And then how did you get put on the radar from the very beginning to get offered a couple fights?
Again, inadvertently, coaching as assistant coach. We had a tournament here in Vegas every year, big college invitational tournament. That particular year, we were invited back to Vegas. That year, it wasn't here in Vegas proper. It was down at State Line at that Buffalo Bills Coliseum, that arena down there. And one of my buddies drove over from California to watch the tournament. It's some of the top wrestling teams in the country competing against each other. Oregon State was highly ranked then, so we had a very, very good squad. And so he's at the finals. We end up hooking up after, just having a beer and talking. And he's like, "Man, you see that UFC? You see Coleman? You see Fry?" And I was like, "Yeah." And, my freshman year at Oklahoma State was Don Fry's senior year.
Oh, really?
We were teammates.
Interesting.
I knew Don very, very well. He was one of the only other guys on the team that was married. So we hung out a lot. I knew him well. And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I saw that. It was unbelievable." And he said, "You should do that." I'm like, What? It's like, "Yeah, I know how to get the application." That's what you did back then. You filled out an application.
Are you crazy
I'll get the application for you and I'll send it in. I'm like, "All right." You didn't think about it. They're like, "All right, no big deal." So we did that. Went home. This was December of '96. He got an application, sent it in. They're like, "Oh, we got enough wrestlers. We want more exotic martial artists, but we'll put him on the alternate list." So he, calls me and tells me, I'm like, "All right, whatever the hell that means." I don't even know what that means.
Right.
I just kept going on about my business, wrestling for the national team and the Greco team, not even thinking about it. 97, spring of 97 rolled around, won a national championship in Greco again. That's I think my 4th title. qualified for the Pan Am Championships down in Puerto Rico to represent the U.S. in the Greco Championships. I'm headed there in 3 weeks, and I get this call from the UFC. Hey, we got a heavyweight tournament coming up in 3 weeks. You're on our alternate list. We're having trouble filling this spot. You still want to fight? I'm like, goddamn right I do.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I had to get that past the head coach, Coach Wells. You know, it's like, look, Coach, you know, they want me to be in this thing called the UFC, and he didn't know what it was. And so he did some research. He's like, man, I don't like this. I don't like this fighting. I think it's bad for wrestling. I think it's a bad look for the university.
Interesting.
If this is something you want to do, you're going to have to get this past the athletic director. And if the athletic director says it's okay, then I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
So I set up a meeting with Dutch Bachman, the athletic director. He thought it was the coolest thing ever. I think much to my head coach's chagrin, he was hoping that Dutch would say, no, man, you can't do that. You can't represent the school that way and be in a fight or any of that.
Right.
I actually fought twice that night. It was a tournament format back then.
That's so crazy.
So, you know, I was a little upset.
They were offering you like cash, though, like real money at that time.
Yeah. Well, I fought twice that night. There was a heavyweight tournament, UFC 13. They paid me $20,000.
$20,000 for that night.
They paid me $25,000 to be the assistant wrestling coach for the entire year.
Right.
And then I was lucky in summer camps, I made another 10 if I worked my butt off in the summer camp programs. Dang. So, you know, $20,000 for one night. I was
salary.
like, holy cow. Right. What? All right. So then, you know, that went well. I ended up winning the tournament, won both fights in the heavyweight division. Two huge guys. And I'm like, what did I get myself into?
They put you in the cage with like a 300-pounder or 290.
Tony Hollema was 300 pounds and Stephen Graham was 290.
And what was your fighting weight at that time?
220.
Okay, 220. Yeah. So first fight goes well.
First two fights, went very well.
But you're at this point, are you still in the mindset of like, this is a one-off? I have no idea what this means.
Yeah, I just did it on a whim. I wasn't looking at becoming a professional fighter or fighting on a regular basis or anything like that. I was still an assistant wrestling coach.
And how old are you at this time?
34, almost 34.
Yeah. Like
33 going on 30. It was 2 months from my 34th birthday and then my second show. So I won that, the heavyweight tournament. They're like, we want you in the super fight against Vitor Belfort in October.
Oof.
And they offered me more money.
Yeah.
For that fight. And that was just one fight. And I'm like, man, so now I go back to the coach, you know, that August. And it's like, Coach, they're offering me another fight, you know, in October. He's like, man, our athletes are coming back to town right now, this week. You're a coach. Are you going to be a coach or a fighter? And basically forced me to make a decision. And I'm like, Coach, they're paying me more for this one fight than you pay me for the year.
Right.
You know, this is going to allow me
to come back
take
to
care
coaching.
of my family and be a full-time athlete, basically. I was still chasing the Olympics. This was, you know, I just came up short in 96 in those trials. So I was going to go to 2000 to the next trials.
Yeah.
And
pretty hard to turn down when they're giving you more.
So I put him in a bad spot because we are literally rolling into the season and I'm saying, no, I'm going to fight. Because they're paying me way more to do this than you're paying me to do that.
Right.
And so that kind of put him in a bit of a bind because his assistant coach is leaving.
Right.
So he kept me on as a strength coach for that season. And he opened up the position and eventually filled the position that season for a new assistant coach.
Got it.
And, you know, I was happy he kept me on and kept me in the room and kept me on the mats, kept me with those guys who I cared about those guys. I love coaching. They're some of the best guys I've ever met. I got to coach in that program. So, it was, but again, another scary decision. Am I going to leave this state coaching job to pursue fighting? And who knows what's going to happen with that?
Yeah. I mean, no inkling of what was going to happen with
no idea if I was going to be 2 and out or what was going to happen. Maybe I suck at this. You know,
maybe the first night was a fluke. And
So it was scary for sure.
Yeah.
And certainly my mom was looking at me like, you're going to do what?
Well, I feel like most fighters are like looking to pack it in at 34, not looking to ramp it
up. Well, that was the other anomaly and kind of set the tone for my entire fighting career. I fought for 14 years.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's
and insane. I was already, by their standard, old when I started.
Yeah, right.
So that was always up against that hurdle or that view.
Right.
And I savored that. That worked for me.
How long?
Being the underdog where nobody has expectations on you puts you in a great spot to go out and flourish. Go
Fantastic
out and be
position.
successful.
Yeah. Take advantage of it while you have it because it's not always that way. You know? start doing well, and then
I actually
expectations are
struggled
up
more
here.
when I had that target on my back and I was the guy holding the belt, holding the strap, and that was way more difficult to deal with than the guy nobody thought was going to get there.
Right,
I liked that place, but being the guy everybody was looking at and chasing, that wasn't so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. So when you were basically figuring out I'm going to be doing this thing full time, this is super, super early on in the UFC. When did you start? Because I feel like you were one of the first guys to really become well known within the sport, right? So at what point did you see that, you were actually drawing numbers in these fights and people are starting to recognize you on the street? Or
that first go round, I mean, immediately it changed my life, the autonomy in my life for sure. I came back after UFC 13. A week or two later, went to Costco to get groceries and supplies, and somebody freaks out in Costco.
Oh, really?
It's like, oh my God. Runs to the front, buys a 9-pack of Instamatic cameras, yards one out so he could take a picture with me. And I'm just standing there going, what the hell just happened? It was so weird to me.
One.
And
That's crazy.
And I realized in that moment that my life just changed. I no longer have the autonomy that I was used to having. I better not be scratching my butt or picking my nose in public because there's a chance somebody's filming you or watching you.
Right.
It was weird, and it's still weird to this day. I don't think it's something I'll ever get used to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good thing. But
sure. When was it? When did it become kind of?
But I didn't set out and actually set, like we talked about, that cookie cutter setting goals and drawing a map to get to that destination. I hadn't really done that. I got into this thing on a whim.
Sure.
Fought those first two. They throw me that super fight at me for some more money against a very tough guy. Vitor Belfort was kicking everybody's butt back then.
Right.
But I analyzed him technically and tactically with that wrestler's mindset and those eyes.
Yeah.
And said, no, I can beat this guy.
Okay.
And ended up beating him. So now they're like, you're going to get a title shot. So
Was he
my
more of
fourth fight, my third show, I'm fighting for the world championship.
Wow.
Like, what just happened?
Yeah, no kidding. Was he more of a wrestler or?
He's a very good boxer, Vitor.
Yeah.
Had done some very high-level boxing for Brazil.
Okay.
But he was also a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, I mean, he was a well-rounded fighter, very young.
Yeah.
I think he was 19 or 20 at that time. And smoking everybody. I think he'd had 4 fights with an aggregate time of about 3 minutes, and all of those fights accumulating. So, and I just watched him on UFC 13, just wade through Trey Telligman on that card as one of the super fights.
Yeah.
He just literally in 60 seconds dismantled this guy, who was a big, strong guy.
Right.
So, he had my attention for sure. And again, that was part of the rub with Coach Wells, because I knew I needed to go find a boxing coach ASAP, or I was going to get my butt whooped.
Right.
And yes, all the athletes were coming back into Oregon State. And I'm like, Coach, I need to go to California. I've got a boxing coach lined up down there. They want me to fight this guy in October. If I don't get this boxing coach and get at least 3 or 4 weeks with this boxing coach, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, what are you going to be? You going to be a coach? You're going to be, you're going to be a fighter.
Yeah.
So
I think I've made that
kind of
pretty clear.
forced me to decide. And so I went down to Hermosa Beach Boxing Works with Scotty and Tony and immersed myself in boxing. I have some of those old videos somewhere, and they're almost comical. I was so bad. So bad.
That was your first time ever boxing?
I did a little smoker in the Army in AIT at Fort Rucker.
Okay.
I would have done anything to get out of running in formation and boots, to include playing volleyball. Boxing smoker, yes, I'm in. Wrestling, yes, I'm in. Didn't matter what sport it was. If that was open, I was going to do that instead of running formation and do all that. So I did 3 weeks of training at Fort Rucker for a boxing smoker, and then didn't get a match.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a common misconception because of my UFC 13. They said, "Oh, he had extensive boxing training in the Army." I didn't hear that on the night,
Right.
But then later, watching the replay of the fights and evaluating my performance and all that, then I hear this extensive boxing training. When was that?
Actually, keep saying
I thought that was funny. Yeah. But that was the extent of it for me. I always loved boxing. I was sneaking away in junior high to the Linwood Elks Club. To their boxing program, and my mom found out about it.
Really?
She's like, no. I will allow you to play football, but you are not boxing.
That's
we laugh
hilarious.
about that now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But she wasn't too keen on the boxing. That was a great club in Linwood. at the Linwood Elks. Robert Shannon boxed for them. He was he was a medalist in '84 in the '84 team.
Nice.
That came out of that club in Linwood. So, I knew him from wrestling. He wrestled at Briar Junior High. I wrestled at Alderwood Junior High. Yeah,
that's crazy.
He's still friends with him to this day.
So when you were you fought, you said you were fighting for 14 years.
I fought for 14 years. That spring of '97 was my first, that UFC 13.
Yeah.
And then my last fight was April of 2011.
Okay.
Up in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah. So over that time span, UFC went from almost non-existence to basically more popular than boxing in a lot of circles. What did you have any idea that was coming?
Well, I think we were all worried the sport was going to die. There was a big political backlash against the sport. They were calling it human cockfighting. And, you know, Senator McCain, who was a big boxing guy and married into the Anheuser-Busch company, who was the biggest promoter and supporter of boxing. They were worried about the numbers and pay-per-view we were putting up. So they started lashing out against the sport and calling it human cockfighting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they got us thrown off of the People's Choice, which was the pay-per-view carrier. And so that was financially hurting the UFC in particular as the biggest promotion in the sport. And they were struggling. And that caused me problems because I'm their new heavyweight champ, and now I have this contract that we just spent 3 weeks negotiating for a particular amount of money, and all this other stuff is going on the pay-per-view side of things. And I'm like, though, we can't pay you that money. I'm like, we spent 3 weeks negotiating this. I'm ready to fight.
Right.
You got to pay me what's in black and white. Come on.
Yeah.
So right away with the old owners, I ended up having contract issues and a rhubarb, butting heads with these guys.
Yeah.
They stripped me of the title, said I chose not to defend my title. I was like, no, you chose not to pay me what you're supposed to pay me to do the fight. So that put me back. You know, I took a 2-year walk away from the sport at that time and said, well, the hell with you guys. I've already made this money from these 4 fights, but 3 shows.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on making the 2000 Olympic team. This was '98.
Okay.
And so I stepped away from it. I fought a couple times in Japan during that time. They paid me pretty well to come over there. Fought in Shuto, King of Kings tournament, a couple other times in Japan during that 2-year stretch. But I was really focused on making the Sydney Games.
Were there any big differences between fighting here stateside versus fighting in Japan?
Yeah. Yeah, quiet as a mouse in a stadium full of people. And you could hear a pin drop in there.
It's like golf.
Oh my gosh, it was so wild. And so
crazy.
Kind of eerie.
Yeah.
Like to be in an arena with 19 or 20,000 people and it's stone quiet in there. They clap. They're not like our fans that are rabid, you know, kill him, kick his butt.
Right.
Yeah, way different.
That's crazy.
And interesting culturally too. I enjoyed it. I think now, to date, I think I've been to Japan 19 times. Through cornering my teammates and fighting myself.
What about fighting style? Were a lot of the fighters from same camps, or did you notice there were differences fighting?
Well, all kinds of differences, and different countries, different flavors. Obviously, the Brazilians, the Japanese, and the American were the 3 strongest markets. The Brazilians came up with this whole concept of ultimate fighting, Vale Tudo, no holds barred, basically. The Gracies were instrumental in kind of, they had these house fights in Brazil. Any martial art or martial artist from any other style thought he could beat their best student, there's a $50,000 check on the line there. I don't think anybody ever walked away with that check. I mean, that was their marketing tool, was to create this sport to market Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then use their smallest of all the Gracies, Hoist, to again, show the effectiveness of this fighting style. And they literally revolutionized martial arts and the concept of martial arts.
You can't have a conversation about it now without mentioning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
You know, the 1-inch punch and so many of these mystical, the dim mak, all these crazy things that come out of kind of Hollywood martial arts. I haven't seen anybody do that in a real fight.
Right. Because that was kind of the concept with UFC from the beginning, was more like kind of a whose fighting style is best type of a thing. It wasn't like people weren't really like, now it seems like everybody's adapting everybody's styles, realizing it's not just one thing. You gotta round yourself out as a fighter.
I break that down in generations. So that first generation of mixed martial artists was out to prove that their background and their martial arts style was the best.
Kung Fu was better.
That's what Royce's goal was, to show that BJJ was the best. The boxer Jimenez with one boxing glove was out to show that boxers were the best. And judo, you know, Christoph Leninger, all these different guys from all these different martial arts styles were out to prove in this single cage that their style was the most
effective.
Complete and effective.
Sure.
And I think we all quickly realized there was no one style that encompassed everything you needed to know. I was out to show what wrestlers were about. And certainly Don Fry and Mark Coleman, Coleman was the first heavyweight champ. He had shown what a lot of us wrestlers were capable of.
Yeah.
But I think we quickly realized the hybrid nature of the sport and that we needed to run towards cross-training and learning all this other stuff. That was certainly my goal, figuring out this jiu-jitsu. I've never had anybody sit on their butt. Certainly not a wrestler. You didn't want to be on your back, on your butt. No way. So, and then the striking guys from the striking world, posed different problems too. All about distance and controlling distance. So
from the perspective of a non-expert, jiu-jitsu and wrestling seem really, really similar. But in reality, they actually have quite a few differences.
Yeah, they're inverted. Wrestling is, I'm going to take you down, face down, hold you on the mat, put you on your back, score points in the scoring system that way.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu, completely opposite. I'm going to sit down, lay on my back, use my legs and long levers to tie you up and frustrate you until you make a mistake. And then submit you. So they're very similar in grappling, but they're inverted of each other. And it's how I look at them and explain them in a lot of ways.
When you started kind of sampling all these different types of fighting, were there any that you just really liked more than some of the other ones? Muay Thai. How come?
So many similarities to Greco-Roman wrestling. The way they use their hips and off balance and the collar tie and plum. And I found so many similarities in Muay Thai that kind of freaked me out. It was so cool.
Interesting.
I went and did a movie in 05-06 in South Africa, in Cape Town.
Okay.
And I was there for 6 weeks shooting the movie called Scorpion King 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And met this guy, Quinton Chong. He ran a Muay Thai house in Cape Town called Dragon Power. Him and his brother Winston, both Muay Thai world champions, got double whammy being in South Africa because they were Chinese, basically, so and apartheid and all that stuff. So they both learned to fight out of necessity.
No kidding, yeah.
Getting their butts whooped.
Legit necessity,
in the neighborhood. But him and I hit it off. He let me and my wife at the time, Kim, use his gym while we were in town, went to a few smokers at his gym while we were there. Nice. And he eventually came over and lived with me and trained me in my house and in the gym here for over a year. Cornered me for a few fights, and we just became great friends. And he, to this day, I don't get to see him nearly as much as I used to, but he's a great guy, and I learned a ton from him. Yeah. And again, opened this whole can of worms of Muay Thai. And I'd been, we started coaching Gina Carano here, and she was working with Master Toddy, and that was kind of my first exposure to Muay Thai. And of course, he was an amazing instructor too, and just had this gregarious personality that just made you laugh. And so that was my introduction to Muay Thai, and then Quinton kind of took me to the next level.
Nice. That's awesome. So coming back into the UFC for your last few fights, was there anybody that was left on the table that you wanted to fight who was like, you weren't able to ever get there?
I think everybody knows about the Fedor Emelianenko.
Yeah.
I chased that fight for over a year. Spent a lot of my own money with legal and stuff to get separate of the UFC. I pushed the UFC to sign him. Most of the rankings had him as the #1 heavyweight in the world and me as #2. So that's the guy I want to fight, obviously. And then they got stuck in a negotiation with him and couldn't sign him. M1 Global, which is kind of who owned him, wanted to do a co-promotion, and the UFC they weren't going to allow that to happen. So that put me in a position, where I was like, well, you guys aren't going to make this fight happen. That means I got to go make it happen. And so I kind of resigned as the heavyweight champ, and they started filing injunctions and trying to keep me from going anywhere else and fighting him somewhere else. Mark Cuban got involved and he had American Airlines Arena. He had his own network. He had all this, some pieces in place. Obviously would have been a huge coup for him to get that fight to happen for him. And then at some point, I think they just tried to bury me in legal and get me to spend as much money as they could make me spend.
Yeah.
And at some point, the clock's ticking. I'm in my 40s.
Right.
You know, like, look, that window's closing very, very quickly for me. So I had to make a rational decision at some point. Look, this fight's not going to happen. It was just no way. And so came back and ended up fighting, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
When I came back.
Yeah.
Thought I had him going, but it ended up didn't go my way. So
who do you look at as one of the just toughest opponents you ever had?
I mean, obviously everybody talks about John Jones right now.
Yeah.
And certainly in my weight class, technically an amazing competitor.
Yeah.
Comes from that wrestling background too. I knew anytime I matched up with another wrestler that was going to negate some of the advantage I felt like I had, at least technically and physically. So, and John was kind of like that baby giraffe in those early days. He wasn't quite as polished and all that, but he caught on very, very quickly and came into his own. And I don't think anybody wanted to fight him there for a while.
Yeah.
He was just tearing guys up. He's so long. The wrestling was good. The striking was good. Those elbows were vicious.
Yeah. The fact that he can leave.
I was always a fan of George, and everybody talks about the GOAT and all of that. And in my mind, George is absolutely in that conversation.
Yeah.
And he's never had any of the extracurricular crap. He never got himself into any kind of trouble that I know of. And John can't really say that. So, and I think it's more than just what you do in the cage. If you want to be considered the greatest of all time. That's just my opinion, but John is that, he's an amazing competitor. There's no way around that.
So you've obviously know a lot about the ins and outs of being a heavyweight champ. And you also, I know Francis Ngannou trains
with us,
Extreme Couture with you guys. That's a fight a lot of people wanted to see that's ever been put together.
Jones and Francis, I would love to see that fight.
What would happen if they matched up, you think?
I mean, it's all speculation, obviously. Yeah. Everybody says that about Fedor, too. Fedor would have beat you. He would have beat Fedor. And who knows? Until it happens, it's all speculation, and nobody really knows. I think it would be a great fight. I think John would definitely have some issues with Francis. First of all, his power. Yeah. Anybody's going to stand around in front of Francis is going to have a problem.
Yeah.
He's got ridiculous power. And then why did he come to Extreme Couture? To shore up that part of his game, the wrestling part of his game. And we saw that progression from the first Stipe fight to the second Stipe fight. I mean, he completely out-wrestled Stipe in the second match, smothered him, beat him up, and finished him. And so, I think Francis had the ability and the athleticism to make John have to use his wrestling to stay off of his back. And that means he's got to stand in front of Francis, which is never a good place to be.
Yeah.
So I think that those, in my mind, analyzing how those two mesh and match up, there's the problem for John.
He works out at Lifetime sometimes over here in Green Valley, which is where I go. And he was standing next to me in the locker room change one time, and I was just doing my thing. I had no idea he was standing next to me. And then I sit in the steam room, but it's all full of steam. And I'm like looking at him, I'm like, who's this? This dude's a mountain, whoever this dude, you know what I mean? I was just like, this dude's huge. And he's sitting right here. I look over, I'm like, is that Francis Ngannou? And so but I obviously couldn't see very well. So we walk out of the steam room. I was like, that's Francis Ngannou. That's crazy.
He is
a mountain, dude.
Yeah, he's a huge guy.
Yeah, and I'm not
260. I was going to say,
I'm not a big guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm also not a small guy. I'm about 6'1", like 200, 210.
Yeah.
So when I sit next to somebody who makes me feel like a kindergartner, it's just like, oh right, that's
who
like,
that is.
Yeah, right.
Well, in COVID year, PFL took that year off. We can't have a regular season and a playoff and a championship with all this COVID crap. It's just stupid. So they took that year off and they started a little production company. And so they asked me and said, hey, we want to do a documentary series on you, on your career. Is that okay? I'm like, that's great. That's really cool. I'm happy to do that. So they literally traveled all over, did a 4-part documentary on me. And they came to me about halfway through and like, hey, we want to know if you'd go into the gym and train with the guys. We want to film you getting some practice in with the team, with the pros. And I'm like, well, I can do that. So I go in, first 2 rounds, I go with the smaller guys and it goes well. And I'm thinking, I still got it.
Yeah, right.
3rd round, I end up with Francis. Oh my God. He freight trained double leg me. I haven't been double leg like that since I don't know when. And I did not see the light of day for the rest of the round.
Really?
Oh my God. Well, that's going to look good on film.
Yeah, exactly.
I was laughing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he blasted me.
Super nice guy too. We talked a couple times there.
Amazing
super
human,
nice guy.
honestly.
Yeah, crazy story.
Yeah,
insane.
amazing story. Yeah. Literally in 2012, sleeping in his car, making his way from Cameroon through Northern Africa into Europe to get his career and his dream of being a world-class fighter and boxer. Yeah. Boxing was his aspiration back then. Ended up on an MMA mat, and the rest is history. But really, really, it's a movie. It really should be a movie.
Absolutely. I would definitely watch it.
And then, obviously he just had the big fight with Renan Ferreira and the champs versus champs and all that with the PFL. And after losing his son 18 months before that. And I don't think the gym even and all the guys, we all kind of put that in packages and pushed it to the side to stay laser focused on him and getting him through this fight. And then when he won and the emotions that just came pouring out of everybody was really nuts. I'm in the booth like crying, what the?
It's unfathomable that type of
to deal with that as a parent
situation. And
then to have him come through it the way he did, pretty remarkable.
Yeah, no, definitely deserves a movie for sure.
Yeah,
I would 100% watch that. Okay, you are one of the few athletes who has successfully made some sort of a transition into Hollywood and into acting and things like that. Did you ever see that coming?
No.
What was the first door?
I played Tiny Tim in the 6th grade play. God bless us, everyone. No, I wasn't into that. I was an athlete, literally an athlete my whole life, and never saw I loved movies. My mom used to take us, me and my 2 sisters, to the Lynn Twin and drop us off for the double feature on Saturdays, so she'd get 5 hours by herself.
Yeah, right.
I've always loved the movies, but I never saw myself being in one.
Yeah,
it wasn't something I aspired to. Athletics opened that door. They called the UFC. For Cradle to the Grave.
Okay.
With Jet Li and DMX in the early 2000s. And they're like, hey, we're looking for some authentic cage fighters for this movie. Who do you got? And so me, Chuck, and Tito all got the call.
Nice.
And I had a SAG card. I was Taft-Hartleyed into a SAG card from a Nations Bank commercial during the 96 games in Atlanta. I got the call through USA Wrestling to be this, farm boy goes to the Olympics commercial for Nations Bank, who was a big sponsor for those Olympics. And that was a SAG gig. Right. I never paid my dues, but it was all Taft-Hartleyed there. So when that call came in, I paid my dues and got my SAG card. Right. And so it was legitimate for me. It was something I was intrigued by and now I just spend 7 days on this movie set, 12, 14-hour days every day for that one little 5-minute fight scene. It was such a weird thing. And this whole world that was just immediately intriguing to me and interesting. And
gotta be fun.
I've spent my whole life as an athlete boxing up my emotions and putting them to the side and staying laser focused on what I was trained to do.
Right.
Now you want me to walk in front of this camera and let all this stuff out. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. This is weird.
Right.
It was totally foreign to me. I couldn't figure it out. But I was also intrigued
emotion
by
on purpose.
So I went and started taking some acting classes. Eventually I found an acting coach, Barry Primus, who's a director, writer. He's just been there, done that, and just a great guy. And him and I hit it off immediately.
Yeah.
And then we'd start doing improv and reading for roles like Expendables, Toll Road, ferret out this guy. How can I relate to this guy? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to tell the truth. You're trying to relate to this guy in a way, even though he's completely imaginary.
Yeah.
Got to find a way to tell the truth and portray this. If I'm trying to act, nobody's going to buy it. It's not going to work. You literally have to kind of try and get in touch with your own stream of experience and relate it to why this guy's doing the things he's doing in this script.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And
so were you at this point actively pursuing roles or just kind of being like,
I started after that movie, got a couple other offers, just independent, and mostly stunts. Doug Crosby was a stunt guy. He was also a judge in MMA. He reached out to me after, the Pedro Hizo fight in Atlantic City. Left me a note when I checked out. Said, hey, man, I really love the way you fight. I'm a stunt coordinator, looking to work with guys like you. If you're interested, reach out to me. Ended up doing a couple episodes of Oz as a stunt guy.
Gotcha. Okay.
That, again, secured my, that's when I stepping up and paying the SAG dues and actually getting my SAG card. Doug helped me navigate all that and get all that figured out. So I started in stunts and then started getting acting jobs.
What sets have been the most fun?
Well, Expendables has been the biggest for sure.
Yeah.
But I've had several.
Did they approach you for that one or something?
Sly did, yeah.
Okay.
He's a huge fight fan.
Okay.
And obviously MMA was coming onto his radar at that time.
Yeah.
boxing is, obviously Rocky, and I mean, he's a historian in boxing. I mean, he knows so much about boxing. It's insane. Really? Oh, he's so fun to talk to because just historically knows tons of boxing.
Yeah,
and he loves MMA as well. So that get a call from my agent. Hey, Sly Stallone called. He wants you to come by his office. He wants to talk about a project. Well, that's not a meeting you're going to miss.
Yeah, right. No, tell him I'm busy.
I'm like, heck yeah, I'm there. So I go to his office. It was really funny because they lead me into his office. The casting director that's supposed to be sitting with us is late. She's not there yet. So we're sitting in the office by ourselves talking. And he's telling me all about this project he's putting together. And they were originally bringing me in for Hail Caesar that he had written for Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
But Wesley was having some issues at that time with the IRS. So he was going to adapt Hail Caesar to be Randy Couture.
Gotcha.
A college-educated guy ranting about his cauliflower ears, quoting Nietzsche, all these things he had in his mind for this character for me, and he was going to adapt Hail Caesar to fit me. And we're in the middle of this conversation, and now the casting director comes charging in. She's flustered because she's late with a meeting with Stallone. She bumps his bookcase inside the door, and he's got all these action figures from all of his movies on this bookcase. And his Brigitte Nielsen from Cobretti is up near the top. And when she bumps it, she comes tumbling down and hits the floor. And he's like, well, good Lord, I could have used you a few years ago. Where were you at? And we just started laughing. It was really funny. Broke the ice. But that's the wit that he has. He's so remarkably witty and smart, and just an amazing writer.
Makes him likable.
I've been very, very impressed with him. I'd met him a few times before that.
Sure.
But again, he's such a fan of fighting that was my foot in the door. And then I was just honored. He ended up getting Terry Crews to play Hail Caesar a week or two later. And I thought, well, I'm out. No, he went back to the script and wrote Toll Road into the movie based on that conversation we had in his office.
Interesting.
And so I was how flattering is that? I mean, I was amazingly honored that he thought enough of me to write a character and keep me in the movie. So it was really cool.
That was the perfect movie to just say, the more the merrier on this one.
Yeah.
Like, let's bring in some
80s
more cool guys.
Action genre. I mean, nobody does this better than he does.
And done to the fullest extent. You know what I mean? Yeah. Those are just fun movies to throw on every once in a while.
Yeah. They're a blast. And a great group of guys.
Yeah, no kidding.
Everybody thinks, oh my God, it had to be crazy on that set with all those alphas. And I'm like, no. It was actually like old home week.
All really enjoying
telling
working
jokes
together.
And getting geared up to go shoot this crazy movie with all these guys. We were all pinching ourselves. It was crazy.
Right. Was that your first time meeting any of the other cast? Or had you already kind of met
I had met. I mean, like I said, I'd met Sly a couple of different times. I'd been to the Arnold Classic and been around Arnold several times for the After School All-Stars and some of the programs he had done through the Arnold Classic. Ultimately ended up fighting Tim Sylvia at the Arnold and kind of facilitated making that fight happen and bringing it there. I'd gotten to become very good friends with Fairfax Hackley, was on the board of directors for Arnold Sports Festival, and him and I are still friends to this day. He's no longer on that board, and the sports festival's going away, it sounds like. But those are just friendships that forged out of that stuff that just don't go away. Yeah,
no kidding. And the ability to actually go to work with them too is something that's a different experience.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a fan of becoming better at that, to watch some of the best.
Exactly how I felt. I want to go hang out in Video Village, and especially in the first one where he's directing, he wrote that, and now he's not only in front of the camera as the star of that movie, but all the other pieces he's controlling too. So I want to hang out in Video Village and just watch how this guy operates and how he approaches this profession. And there is the difference. Mickey Rourke was in the first one, Jean-Claude was in the second, and the dichotomy of how a Bruce Willis, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Statham approached this profession versus the way those guys have kind of approached this profession is very stark.
Right.
And a great learning experience for fresh eyes like mine to be on a set with guys like that.
Right.
You want to see how you make it and make it last for 30 plus years at the top of your game? Watch what those guys do.
Yeah.
You want to be in the tabloids?
Exactly.
Pay attention to what those guys are doing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's a wild experience to be able to have that as part of some of the things that you've been able to do, man. That's super cool. Is there any major lessons or takeaways that you had from that you can look at from that has a through line through everything that you've done, whether it's wrestling, coaching, MMA, acting? Is there passion?
You find that thing you're passionate about. Don't let go of that. Chase it with everything that you have. And that's a double-edged sword. I mean, I had this passion early on and got into wrestling and on a wrestling mat for all the wrong reasons, probably. But I found the place I seemed to flourish and became very passionate. And again, started learning how to establish and set goals and draw those maps to get to destinations. And those are huge pieces of the puzzle for success in anything. Now, the other side of that is the sacrifices that certainly in an individual combative sport that you're going to have to make as a young man that just got married at 18 and had his first kid by 19. There's where those sacrifices were. Time with my kids. I was in survival mode to begin with.
Yeah.
And made choices and did things to try and accomplish those things that took away from these people that I absolutely adore and care for. And there's the balancing act of how do I become the best in the world at this without losing this? And you walk a very fine line there. And if I have regrets, it's in that realm. My personal, been divorced 3 times. It's been a big challenge. I have 3 amazing children, 3 grandkids now, despite putting them through divorce and traveling all over the world, chasing these dreams of being an Olympic champion in wrestling and the best in the world at fighting. So there's the dichotomy of how you balance that. And it got out of balance more than one occasion. And there are some regrets there. I'm thankful that my kids are well-adjusted, contributing, successful humans on this planet. My youngest is a senior at Oregon State, studying psychology. Ryan's got a degree in math, fought for 12 years, running the gym now, doing an amazing job with the gym. Amy's got a degree in sociology, and, she's got a 4-year-old little girl now that she's raising, and her stepsister as well. So Aurora and Evelyn, Ebby, she's an amazing human. Yeah. So proud of that.
Sure.
Despite everything that I put them through.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, one of the things I had to just reconcile with when I became a parent was that I was like, no matter how hard I try, no matter what I do, I'm going to screw something up. And you got to hope you get the main things across that
I think
that
the biggest
really
thing
matter.
with kids is consistency. Even if it's wrong, if it's consistent, they're going to adapt and they're going to figure out how to consistency. So when it's ever changing, it messes them up and it's hard. But consistency, if you're consistently the same all the time, then they're going to adjust and figure out their way through. Nobody's getting through without baggage. It's not happening.
Exactly.
The first 7 years of our lives are very formative times when your language acquisition skills are still in place. You've never been told no and bad boy more than you were in that first 7 years of your life. And then any other trauma that happened on top of that, we all got to deal with. We all got to sort out. And all that's stuck in here in that subconscious. It's one of the first things I learned through athletics is that I control that voice. That voice does not control me. And so many people don't recognize that. They react and they engage with that internal dialogue that says all kinds of things that nobody in their right mind would say to your face.
Yeah, right.
Honestly.
Just because you think it doesn't make it true.
But recognizing that you control that voice does not control you was a huge piece of the puzzle for me athletically. And I wish I'd have figured out that translated to my everyday life a lot sooner than I did. I may have saved myself a couple of those divorces, developed some better communication skills. And, we as males certainly suck at that. So, I see pretty clearly my deficiencies and where I let down and drop the ball. And, and nobody's going to be harder on us than we are on ourselves.
Of course, yeah. Well, especially when you do your best at everything. When you're always trying to excel at whatever you do.
Well, perfectionism is a hustle.
Yeah,
but a lot of people get caught up in that hustle, and nothing will keep you out of the arena where excellence takes place faster than being a perfectionist.
Yeah, right.
Be effective. Forget about perfection. There's no such thing.
Love it. Listen, I keep talking to you for hours, man. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Before we wrap up here, where can people just go hang out with Randy more?
Come to Extreme Couture MMA. It's an open gym. Everybody thinks it's just a fight gym, but I got 650 regular members in there that don't want to get punched in the face. You're more likely to find me there. If I'm in Vegas, I'm at the gym usually every day.
Sweet.
But
Doing
the
some
gym's an
podcasts and
amazing
stuff
place.
recently?
I turn up on podcasts all the time. I did Misha Tate's yesterday. A lot of people want me. I never did my own just because I'm traveling so much between acting, commentating, and all the charity work that I do. And I don't want to half-ass anything.
Absolutely.
I had the opportunity a couple years ago to start an MMA podcast, and I kind of passed on the opportunity just because I didn't feel like I could commit to it the way it needed to be committed to. And you probably know that full well after running this one for as long as you've run it. Yeah.
It's a hustle, that's for sure. So go check out Randy over whatever social media app that you want to use. He's on there.
On all of them. Instagram.
Yep.
There's 2 Instagram pages. Everybody's like, is this really you? I got hacked last year on Instagram. Somehow Nigerians hacked me, took me quite a while to get Meta to respond and get my page back, and they were selling appearances and autographs and representing me, which was horrible.
That's the worst.
I literally had to threaten Meta for damages to get them to respond to me and get my page back. And I was a blue check and all of that. But I, in the meantime, started another page waiting for them to respond to get my other page back. So I have the real Randy Couture and I have XC Natch are the 2 Instagram pages, Randy_Couture on Twitter. On X, I guess it's X now. And then Facebook, there's the fan page, Randy the Natural Couture, and then my personal page, just Randy Couture.
Perfect. So. Dude, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate you reaching out and asking me to come on.
Absolutely. For everybody watching, listening, remember as always to leave every relationship better than you found it. Catch you on the next episode. Peace.